picked up my mail, and I saw this letter from the President of the United States. I thought, he must congratulate me on my internship at the Justice Department. I went back to my apartment, opened the letter, and it stated, "Greetings from the President of the United States and your friends and neighbors." I realized I had just been drafted. After Fort Sill, I was assigned to Hanau, Germany, a military base. I had the privilege of doing a lot of traveling in the Army. Got to see a lot of sightseeings. I love the German food, and I love the German people. They're really kind and nice. Now, my grandfather came from a little village in the Alps, Sanzine, Italy. Got acquainted with some of my grandfather's people. After I got back off my leave to Sanzine, the first sergeant came in and told me Major Taggett wanted to see me. So I hurried and went up to report to him. I reported. He says, "Come in, Bob." And right there, that was a key, because they never refer to you as your first name. It was always your last name and your rank. Private Inama, come in, so forth. I came in, he told me to sit down. I sat down, and he pulled out the transcript of my college credits. And he says, "I see that you have graduated in government and in economics. You had a couple of years of German." And I said, "Yes, sir, I can read and I can understand it, but I have a really difficult time speaking it." And he says, "Well, Bob, we have something we want you to volunteer for." Bob, what we want you to do, we want you to go to the University of Berlin, do well in there, and become a TA to Professor Smith. Now, Professor Smith has the privilege of going into East Germany, and we would like you to become his PA, drive him into East Germany, and take pictures of military targets. And he says, "Do you have a girlfriend, Bob?" And I said, "No. There's a saying in law that law is a jealous mistress, and I didn't have time for a girlfriend." He said, "Well, you got 4 now. You got 1 in San Francisco, you got 1 in Denver, you got 1 in Chicago, you got 1 in Florida. After you sight these military targets, get the coordination, then you would address the envelope, like Murray Smith, and the address would be 149 East 2nd Street, and that would be the coordinates of the targets." But Major Taggett told me what he wanted done. It was quite a shock. I had no dream or anything about being a spy. But I loved my country. Major Taggett told me, "Bob, now what you're doing is top secret. You cannot tell anyone, not even your folks. We're gonna let you grow out your hair. If you want to grow a beard, you can grow a beard. And you'll stay with this couple, and you'll speak German to them for a month." I stayed in this home 8 hours a day. I would speak German. I let my hair grow out, became a typical college student. Major Taggett gave me a little pen, not bigger than this. It had a recorder in it. It had a microfilm charge in it. And I took a lot of microfilm pictures of military installations in case a war broke out. In the Army, we called it, if the balloon goes up, then we'd have these military targets. And I felt, well, that could help my colleagues in West Berlin to get out. I did this for almost 9 months. I figured, well, Smith, being my major professor, I really didn't have anything to worry about. If I got caught, Smith would be there to help me. But that wasn't the case. We started to go back to West Berlin, and we ran into a roadblock. I was ordered out of the car, and I told Smith, I'm your driver, say something. And he didn't say anything. I was blindfolded, handcuffed, told to get into another car. And as I walked by Smith, he said something like, "Auf Wiedersehen, Dukov," which means goodbyes, fool. And I realized then that Professor Smith was a double agent. I was in a cell down in the basement, cold as could be, and there's a little slot in a window about 15 feet high. About once a day, a guard would come and take me upstairs, and there's some officers and some very large East German soldiers up there, and they start to ask you questions. And being in the Army, you just give your rank, your name, your serial number, and that was it. That didn't please those guards, so they started to beat me. One was really a large guy, and he could beat pretty hard. Usually I would pass out from the beatings. A guard then would take me back to my cell and just throw me on the floor. And then I'd wake up. Next day, the whole process would begin again. Well, I thought, you're not going to get out of this. I can't say I'm going to get out of the meeting, so I might as well have some fun. So there was a guard there. I don't know his name. I don't know his name even today, but I refer to him as Adolf. And then when they took me upstairs to be questioned and I get beat up, I congratulate the guy that's doing the beating. I said, "Boy, you're really good at this." So, might as well have some fun. Adolf became my main guard, and Adolf would come to pass the food, and I told Adolf, "I'm fasting today." Now, he didn't know what fasting was, so I explained that to him. The only thing that kept me going was individual prayer, trying to think back on the good times I had, thinking about my family, trying to remember church songs, just so I get my mind keep going. I did a little exercise in the cell, push-up, stuff like that, but basically just nothing to do. 24 hours, you're just sitting there with you and your brain, and I think some finally cracked up. One morning, Adolf came. It was just getting light, and he told me to come with him. I walked out my cell door, noticed 2 other prisoners and some armed guards. We walked into the courtyard, And that's the first time I've been outside for a number of months. When my eyes got used to the light, I noticed that there was a cement wall, and in front of that cement wall, there were posts in the ground about 6 feet high. And I realized right then, we're probably going to be executed. The thought went through my mind, silly things, like, is that going to hurt? And then I thought, from my missionary experience, someone will meet you on the other side. And I wondered who's going to meet me on the other side to show me where to go and things. Well, we walked up to these poles, and even today, I pondered and wondered why. I was third in line, but Adolf immediately moved me up to number 1. He secured me to my pole. My hands were tied. My head was tied to the pole. Then they came and put a hood over you. And I thought, well, this is it. I worried about my parents, how they're going to react. That's going to happen. I heard the order, ready, aim, and fire. I didn't feel a thing. I thought, well, hey, this is not too bad. Didn't hurt. Then an officer came, and they took the hoods off of us. I noticed that number 2 and number 3 were dead. I was not shot, and I have no knowledge today why that didn't take place. The officer came, he shot the other 2 in the head to make sure they were dead. And then I was untied. Adolf took me back to my cell, and I pondered for a long time, why wasn't I shot? And then the process started again, the questioning, the beating, and so forth. Whatever comes, learn to love it. So I kind of developed that as my philosophy. And it's pretty hard to love something where they're beating the tar out of you. But I tried to look at the positive side. What's going to happen? And if I knew the end results, as I do now, I'd do it again. I really would. It's a miracle to me. I never thought that wall would come down. I'm so grateful that it did.